Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Kenna and this is my plant channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my philodendron collection because everyone likes philodendron, right? I mean, I know I like philodendron. Anyway, the weather here is absolutely beautiful. It's been in the 70s this week. The birds are just going crazy outside. My bulbs that I planted last fall are starting to sprout, so I am so ready for spring, and hopefully I will have a spring houseplant tour up soon. Anyway, we got some ice last weekend and I was home for a couple of days and I was hoping to get caught up on filming, but I got sick. So if I sound really congested, I am. I'm feeling much better, but I did not have time to do anything plant related, so I'm trying to catch up this week and get back into my routine. I found that I really enjoy doing collection videos because it gives me a chance to talk about kind of like the care tips for each variety I have in my collection, and also I just get to like show off my plants in categories. I do have quite a few philodendron. I thought that I had the most philodendron, but I'm not really sure that I do. I have a lot of Hoya, I have a lot of Syngonium, so hopefully I will keep doing these collection videos. Let me know in the comments if you like seeing that. Alright, so let's get into the philodendron. I am currently surrounded by philodendron, so let's get into it. This is my philodendron heartleaf, and this is such an easy philodendron. It basically is like decor in my house instead of like a hard to care for plant. It just kind of does its own thing. I water it like once every 2 weeks, and yeah, I like it a lot. I grew this from a bunch of cuttings probably 3 years ago. The next philodendron I have is a Philodendron Brantianum, and this one has really struggled, honestly. I bought this as like a much fuller plant and it started getting really small leaves, so I chopped it up, and this is a bunch of cuttings that I'm trying to regrow, but let me know if you struggle with this one too, because I have never made this thing happy. This philodendron is a bipennifolium, or it also is called horsehead philodendron, and it just gave me this new leaf, so that's exciting. I probably need to chop this up soon because the leaves are really getting pretty small. But I grew this one from a cutting from my friend Rachel, who moved last year, and so it just kind of reminds me of her, and I like it. Next is my Philodendron Plowmanii, and I'll probably say this like a million times during this video, but this one is one of my favorites for sure. I grew this from a chunk, and I always say like growing plants from a chunk is just so much more rewarding, and I end up loving them so much more, so I highly recommend. This is the new leaf. It got a little bit damaged in my cabinet, but that's okay. I recently repotted this in one of my repot videos. Okay, next philodendron over here beside me is my Philodendron Florida Ghost, and this one's one of my favorites too. It just put out this new white leaf and it's so pretty. It's also getting another new leaf. I got this one. This one might be the most recent philodendron I got. I got this from Queen City Tropicals and it's doing great. The next one is my Philodendron Silver Stripe that I cut up in a plant propagation video. I will have that link below in case you want to check that out. Oh, and I can also update you guys on the cuttings. So let's check them out. I don't see any roots coming, but I bet they are. So the top cut, put out its newest leaf while in here. Oh, they are rooting. I don't know if you can see that little root coming out, but these have been in here for a week now, week and a half. So the rest of my plant is in this prop box, and when they're rooted, I'm gonna pop them back up in that pot. Another philodendron I have is the Philodendron Collection, and this one just lives up on my windowsill. I recently put that up there in my plant chores video, and it's doing good. I've contemplated so many times buying a bigger one because Philodendron Collection is a lot more common now than it was when I first started collecting plants. I got this as like 3 or 4 cuttings, and it was really hard to find back then, but I'm just trying to grow my own pot from the cuttings that I had, so I haven't bought another one, but I've contemplated getting a bigger one multiple times. It's just something about growing plants from cuttings. Next one is a Philodendron Gigas, and I like this one, but I've thought about getting rid of it a couple of times because they're a really strange grower and the leaves get damaged so easily, and I really kind of struggle with this one. I bought it as a big plant and I cut it up with a friend, and we each took cuttings from it, and only 2 out of the 4 cuttings rooted. And this was one of them, and I sold the other one. But it's very interesting. The growth pattern is super strange. They grow like almost flat, and the leaves are really long. It's very similar to a Philodendron melanochrysum, but harder maybe. Next one is my Philodendron fuzzy petiole, and it's getting a new leaf. This guy I've kind of struggled with too. The leaves get stuck really, really bad when they're coming out, and I've moved it around my house a couple times, and honestly I can't find what it wants, but it sits in my wicker cabinet now and it seems to be happier. This new leaf looks like it's gonna be big. Definitely a cool one. Next one is my Philodendron El Chaco Red. Also one of my all-time favorites. I highly recommend getting one of these if you can. They're kind of pricey and a little bit harder to find, but totally worth it. They get this red look underneath their leaves. I don't know if you can see that because this leaf is getting older, but you can see it on the new growth. Look at that. Such a cool one. I got this one from Queen City Tropicals too. I get all my plants from Queen City Tropicals. Who am I kidding? This is, I really thought about not even showing this, but this is a Philodendron Soderoy that I imported that I showed you guys. That's why I thought I should just go ahead and show it because you guys have seen it before, and now this is it. I have a couple more chunks in my IKEA cabinet, and it's all that's left. I don't know if they're gonna make it or not, but keep you guys updated. Another thing I noticed as I was preparing for this video is that a lot of my philodendron are in my Fabricor, which is like all of the plants that I really, really love are in there. And so I guess that just goes to show that I really love philodendron because now my cabinet is like empty because all my philodendron are in here with me. But I will say, some of them are harder than others. Like the heartleaf, you definitely don't need to keep that in a cabinet, but things like the Florida Ghost or the El Chaco Red, those would do better in like an IKEA cabinet environment. But I just wanted to clarify that they don't have to be in a cabinet to thrive. Next one is my very sad silver sword. This thing has struggled. I bought it as like a pretty small plant. It had like 2 or 3 leaves, and it just started doing that like silver sword thing where the leaves like retain water and it looks really funky. So I got irritated with it one day and I just chopped it all the way up. And so all the cuttings are up in my cabinet, and this is the bottom cut, and it's getting a new leaf, so hopefully it will come back. But this is also a really cool philodendron, and when I bought this, they were pretty uncommon, like they were hard to find, and now they've become a lot more common. So I highly recommend you pick up one of these if you can find it. Next, Philodendron Mammii. I traded for this with a friend of mine, and it has a little bit of damage, but it's doing a lot better. I potted it up in soil and it gave me that new leaf recently. This is also a really cool one. It's a lot like the Philodendron Collection, but the leaves are a little bit more rounded, and these get massive. These and the Plowmania can get massive. And another thing I wanted to mention about philodendron that I think is so cool is some philodendron are trailing, some grow upright, and some crawl. That brings me to my next philodendron. I talk about this guy all the time on my Instagram because it really is my favorite philodendron. I'll probably say that again, but this one's my favorite. It is getting a new leaf. I am obsessed with this thing. I grew this also from a chunk from my friend Rachel that moved, and it just like, every time I see her, it reminds me of Rachel, and it brings me so much joy. I don't think I'll ever be able to cut this thing because it's getting huge, and I grew it from a chunk, and this was, I think the first leaf is gone, but this was the second leaf it ever got. And you guys, look how big that leaf is. So it's growing like crazy, but this is an example of a crawling philodendron. So you can see that they like literally crawl, and this one's crawling right out of its pot. So I'm probably gonna have to move this to like a rectangular planter soon so that it can grow properly, but my favorite philodendron. Next one is my Philodendron Brazil, and it is also a trailing philodendron. And one thing I really like about the Brazil is, first of all, it's common. Like you can buy it at almost any big box store, but the leaves are so different. Like every time a new leaf comes out, it looks totally different. And actually this is from cuttings from my grandma's plant, and I'll have to insert a picture of my grandma's plant because she has it in really, really low light, and the leaves are so dark. Like I have never seen a Brazil as dark as hers, and I was hoping mine would be like that, but I have mine in the windowsill, so it's kind of bleached out. But this one also means a lot to me because I got it from my grandma. Last philodendron I have right here is my Philodendron Billetier, and that is its newest leaf. I recently got this one, and it's little. And this was its second leaf that it gave me. I think I showed you guys this in my repotting video. But these get pretty big too, and I'm hoping this one grows really good for me. I got a really good deal on this locally. These are pretty pricey. And so yeah, I really like this one a lot. Okay. Now I'm going to show you guys the rest of my philodendron that are either too big to move or are on a plank, and I couldn't get it off the plank to show you guys. Okay, next up for philodendron, we have my Philodendron Planted Lady. It is doing really well, and the leaves are starting to get pretty mature, so that makes me really happy. I bought this probably a year ago in a nursery in Kansas called Flower Farm, and I got a super good deal on it. They were really uncommon back then, and they still are a little bit harder to find, but definitely a really cool one. Okay, next philodendron is also one I recently put on a plank. You can see that on my Plants on Planks video. Also one of my favorites. This one might be second favorite. But anyway, a little update. It is getting a new leaf on the plank, and it's starting to try to kind of attach. I'll just do a little update. This is the Syngonium. It is getting a new leaf also, and it has a fresh aerial root right down here. I don't think I'm gonna be able to show you guys, but it is trying to attach too, so that's exciting. Next philodendron is my Philodendron Melanochrysum, and this is a really cool one, but they can be kind of finicky, I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I put it on a plank, it put out this new leaf that's so pretty and perfect, and it doesn't have the damage like when it was living in my cabinet, so that's good. It is also starting to get a new leaf. So overall, the plants on planks are doing well. Okay, so before I finish up this video, I thought I would talk about kind of some care tips for philodendron, or how I care for mine to keep them doing well. So starting off with water, basically I water all my plants the same. I don't really go off of like a schedule or anything. I just use the finger method, where you stick your finger in the soil, and if it's dry, you water. If it's not dry, you don't water. I have also really gotten familiar with my plants, and at this point I can just like pick up the pot and tell whether or not it needs watered or not. But if you are new to plants, you can buy a moisture meter, and I will have one linked in the description, and you can just stick it down in the soil and it will tell you when you need to water your plants. For soil on my philodendron, I just use the same chunky potting mix that I use on all of my plants. Hopefully I will make a video for you guys, because I reference my soil a lot. But basically, it's just Fox Farm Happy Frog potting mix, and then I add in some perlite, some Reptibark, some mosquito bits. If I have charcoal, I'll add that. I've also added, what's it called? Worm castings. Worm castings are great for like extra nutrients in the soil, but they can be kind of pricey, and I don't have any right now. So that's my soil mix for them. Humidity differs depending on the plant. So plants like the Philodendron Brazil don't need high humidity at all, but things like the Melanochrysum, they really need high humidity to thrive. So you'll just have to check up on that before you buy the philodendron. Usually the easier to find ones, I want to say, have less humidity needs, and ones that are harder to find will generally require more humidity. I clean them, like I clean the foliage. A couple of them are more common. It is more common for them to have pests, like the Plowmanii and the Mamiae. This one I clean off a lot more often, because they are, for some reason, I couldn't tell you why, they like pests a lot more. So keeping them clean. Another thing that a lot of people have asked me about, so I thought I would just address it in this video, is extra floral nectaries. They're basically like a gland on a plant, I want to say, and they secrete like a sticky sap-like substance on the bottom of your leaves, and if you don't keep them clean, they will damage your plant. So a good example of that is this Bipennifolium. You can see the little spots on it, and you can really see it on the back side of the leaves. This is common for philodendron. So I've heard that they do this in the wild to attract ants to eat pests. So with that being said, if you have a plant that you haven't really moved lately and it starts secreting more of this fluid, you might want to check it for pests, because that is common on them. Spider mite damage can also look a lot like the extra floral nectary damage. So just making sure that your plants don't have pests when they start doing this. I have noticed that when you keep philodendron at a higher humidity, they do this more often. So when my Philodendron Melanochrysum was in my IKEA cabinet, it was getting a lot more damage. Now that I've moved it out of the cabinet, it's doing a lot better. So that could also be a possible cause, but I just wanted to address this because I have a lot of people either tell me I have pests or just like say that the plant doesn't look healthy. This is common for philodendron, and if you have philodendron at all, you'll know that that happens. You can just clean the leaves more often, especially the underside, and that will help keep the damage at a minimal. So that is pretty much how I care for my philodendron. I think I love philodendron so much because they're generally an easygoing plant variety, and a lot of them are easily accessible. One reason I have a lot of them is because they're all so different. Like none of them look, I mean some of them do, but most of them don't look alike, and I really like that about philodendron. So I hope you learned something new, and I hope you enjoyed seeing my philodendron collection. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at PlantsByKenna, and I will see you guys in the next video.